Hi learners, is glad to see you in Krishna's space. Today is the day 71 of our 300 days DSA journey. So it's time for our today's problem. Let's understand it. So today's problem is assign cookies. Here we have to assume that we are an awesome parent and we want to give our children some cookies. But we should give each child at most one cookie. Here, each child I has a greed factor Gi, which is the minimum size of a cookie that the child will be content with, and each cookie j has a size Sj. If Sj is greater than or equal to Gi, we can assign the cookie j to the child I, and the child I will be content. So our goal is to maximize the number of our content children and output the maximum number. So now let's understand this problem more better with the help of examples. And as we can see in the example 1, we have given two arrays G and S, where G is showing the greed factor of ith element and S is showing the size of our cookies. And in the output you can see we have given 1, that means we have only one content child. Why? Because as you can see we have the greed factor as 1, 2 and 3. But the size of our cookies are 1, even though we have 2 cookies, but the size of the cookies are 1. That means we can only satisfy the child whose greed factor is 1. So we know in our greed factor we have only 1 times 1. That's why the output is 1. Same in example 2, we have given two arrays G and S and the output is 2, because now we have three different size of cookies and the greed factor of our children has 1 and 2. So we can provide any cookie to the child whose greed factor is 1. But for the greed factor 2, we can only provide two cookies whose size is 2 and 3. So that means we can actually satisfy both the children. That's why in the output they have written 2. So now let's understand how I actually approach this problem. So here to solve this, we can actually take a greed factor and search through the whole S to find out which size of cookie actually contain the particular greed factor. But it will take a lot of time and it will be very complex. Rather than we can actually sort both the arrays and simplify our operations. So you can take the example 2 here. As we can see, both the arrays are already sorted. So when we are going to take the greed factor 1, we will not go through whole array of S. Rather than we will stop at the moment where we can find the value which is equal to 1 or greater than 1. So you can see the first element of our S is 1. That means we can assign the cookie of size 1 to the greed factor 1. After that, we don't need to see the greed factor 1 and we don't need to see the cookie that has already provided. Now we have greed factor 2 and we have 2 more cookies. So we just need to take the greed factor 2 and we just need to find out if we have the size of cookie greater than 2 or equal to 2. We know we have, so we can just provide that cookie to our greed factor 2. So as you can see, sorting can actually makes our problem very easy. So that's why in the code, the first thing that I have done is to sort my both arrays. After that, I have created two variables I and j which containing 0. And after that, I am running a loop in which the condition is I should be less than length of g and j should be less than length of s. That means if any one of my array will be completed, we will come out from this loop. And inside the loop, I am finding out if my gi is less than equal to sj or not. If my gi means my greed factor is less than or equal to my size of my cookie, then we are going to increment our I. And then we are going to increment our j. And if it is not, then we are going to just increment our j. And in the last, we are going to return our I. So now let's take the example 2 to understand it more better. So the first thing we will do is to sort both the arrays, but our arrays are already sorted. So we will just get into the loop, and inside the loop we are going to check if gi is less than equal to sj or not. Here I and j both has the value 0. That means we are comparing the elements at the index 0. Here we know 1 is equal to 1. That means we are going to increment our 1. And also we are going to increment our j. So now I and j both are denoting 1. And in the second loop, we are going to check the elements at the index 1. and we know 2 is equal to 2, so we are going to increment our I. Now my I is 2 and then we are going to increment our j as well, which will be 2. But here as you can see, the array G has completed, so we will come out from this loop and return the value of I, which is 2. So that's how I have solved this problem. If you guys have any other solution of it, do write it on comment, and thank you so much for watching this video and staying with me.